Hey, hi, and hello, everyone. Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. And today I wanted to talk about a very interesting thing. Data relating directly to my reviews and my body of reviews that I have amassed over the past 10 plus years. Pretty much all of which recently has been scraped and assembled together into a series of searchable items on the website melon.com, where again, thousands and thousands of my reviews, my album reviews, my EP reviews, mixtape reviews, everything have been put together into a series of sections where you can essentially look at things and reviews that I've done according to score. You can search by artist and genre too on the site as well. It's a very thorough and thoughtful project that dives really deep into the years and years of everything that I've done on YouTube and parses it out in a way that is very convenient and gives you a really broad view of my review scores, general opinions, so on and so forth. So I figured I would have a conversation here with the man himself, Stas Deep, who essentially assembled all of this info into this site just to kind of get a sense of what all of this data means, if the trends within it go in any direction, what this data may or may not say about my preferences, my music opinions in general, how harsh of a critic I am. And I invite you guys to dive in along with me in this conversation that I have, again, with Stas Deep. Okay, here we are. The conversation. Stas Deep, thank you for taking the time. Do you want to dive into this Melody site a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, sure. Where do I start even?
Yeah, I mean,
Perhaps
I get,
why I decided to make it in the first place.
yeah, exactly. What drove you to do this in the first place and organize it in the way that you have? Because, I'll be honest, I've seen some different websites and projects over the years that have done something similar. But you've definitely kind of gone above and beyond in terms of organizing it very well and everything like that. What kind of drove you to do this in the first place?
Yeah, so I guess the main goal was for me to have a place to discover new music, new
Mm.
cool music. So I have been following you for a while, and I think we have some matches in our tastes. So I mean, it's always with the music you find someone you have similar taste with, and then it's easier uh, to find new music by their reviews. And I have also come up to this websites that have categorized your scores, but the problem was that it was just score, album, and artist.
Mm.
And I wanted to know more. When I'm glancing over this list, just to see the cover would already give me an idea whether I want to listen to this or not. Also,
Mm.
the year and the genre. So that was basically the motivation to have this source that I liked. And I thought that it would be just a cool project, pet project that I can spend some time during the evenings. And I am specializing in data scraping, so it's not like something foreign to me. But there was a lot of data cleaning because this data is messy, and I'm not saying your data,
Yeah,
your
I
descriptions
don't
are
have the
actually
filthiest data out there.
yeah. But I mean, your scores are structured pretty well. It's almost always score slash and then 10. There are some
Right.
exceptions.
Right.
Uh, but uh, but yeah, mostly it's pretty easy. But then yeah, the part with actually extracting the metadata is the hard part. So I used Music Brains and Rate Your Music uh, to extract it. And then there's also some cleaning because there are different releases, re-releases. So it's always
Yeah,
messy data.
there's different types of projects, and I imagine on top of that, things can get pretty messy when it comes to genre.
Yeah, I mean, but with genres, uh, in the analysis that we'll be going over today,
Hmm.
this is the genres from Rate Your Music, which is I consider pretty good. So they have primary genres, which are well classified.
Hmm.
With Music Brains data, it was actually pretty weird sometimes. Like, I remember what was that? Like, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy was British R&B or what? I don't remember, but it was a weird genre to assign to this album.
Hmm. No, for sure that's true. Just to like give a quick overview here for maybe some people who are unfamiliar with like the back catalog that had to be kind of like gone over and assembled in order to do this project. How many reviews and scores in total were sort of like amassed together in order to sort of like build this library together that people can dig through now? I
So
mean, we're like it's well over 3,000, right?
it's 3,333 the last time I checked. So it's
3,333 reviews,
yeah,
official reviews of projects from yours truly over the past 10 plus years.
yes,
It's a lot
and
of it's a
I'm
lot of
sure that
opinions.
that's true. And I'm sure there's some missing
Right.
and some incorrect data, but still, it's pretty close to truth.
Yeah, yeah. There's going to be like breakage. A few reviews fall off the back of the truck or
Or
whatever,
like the Kanye West Bully review you did, which turned out to be a different album review.
something like that. A troll review or two, a review where I'm asleep, something like that. It's
Yeah.
like there's always going to be an outlier or
Or
two, but
Charlie XCX review, which is written in reverse, so it was
oh,
harder for me to find this one.
still, even if we're kind of like accounting for some of the weird anomalies here and there, we're talking about like well over 3,000 reviews and scores of different types of albums and releases over
Yeah, and
this span of
this is
time.
actually only so I excluded track reviews. So
Of
this
course, of
is
course, of course, yeah.
albums, EPs, mixtapes, and compilations. I think that's it.
Okay. And altogether, you were able to sort of like break these down on this platform again for everybody who's like not initiated yet, by year, by score, by genre, so people could like really dig into these like for their specific tastes or what
Yeah,
they're
I
kind of
mean,
specifically curious about.
there is no good navigation for this kind of filtering by year. That is
Mm,
something that I'll maybe do, but still you can search by genres, by artist name or album name,
okay.
and it is sorted by score. So what I do actually, because this is something I did for myself, so
Mm,
I'm using it pretty often. So I'll just go and start scrolling down until I see some maybe cover that I like that
mm,
is like 7 or above
right.
scored, and I would just turn it up and listen to it. I have a pretty cool audio system, and that's how it all started because I bought like vintage uh, amplifier, vintage speakers.
Mm.
So I just want to explore new music now.
Okay, okay, okay. I mean, I appreciate you using my catalog as a means of doing that, and I appreciate the work that you put in here because like things have kind of gotten to a point where I've just put out so much material over all the years. And I do have some playlists here and there of, like my loved albums and so on and so forth. But I do realize that like it's all a bit of a pain in the ass to navigate because it's just such a hulking body of work at this point. And YouTube doesn't do the best job of sort of like allowing you to
Right.
go through all of this stuff in the most efficient, quick, easy fashion. So, what you've done here, like most definitely makes it easier to kind of like sift through for anybody who might be curious and looking to go through it in kind of a quick, efficient way and sort of like sample different things and get different points of view or whatever according to things that I've said or things that I've reviewed. Um, before we dig into some of the specific data that you have accrued here, because you did actually, for everybody who's watching, just to tease, you did actually assemble like some charts and graphs of certain things of information that has like, come to light as a result of assembling all these scores, all these reviews, everything. But like, on the surface, before we dive deeply into any of that, what are some of the first things that you noticed once you had all of the reviews by score, by year, by genre in front of you? Like what was maybe some of the first things that popped out to you in terms of like, oh, that's an interesting trend or that's an interesting thing that, a direction he leans in or something?
Yeah, so first thing I noticed is obviously how much data there is. I didn't
Mm,
expect it to be so well over 1,000. Like, but yeah, now that I see the distribution over the years, it's like 200 to 300 reviews per year, every
Mm,
year,
mm,
which is already mind blowing. And then so while I was going through it, I was also surprised how many of good scores there are. Like 7+ is actually like the most of the reviews.
mm.
And yeah, other stuff I didn't really dig that much into until I started preparing for this call and actually started playing around, slicing and dicing the data. And that's where the most interesting trends came up, I would say.
Okay, we'll go over some of that in a second, but I think it's funny just kind of the surface level observation there, because I mean I'm sure you know, watching my content and being at least somewhat aware of kind of like me and the discourse generally around me, like so to speak, that I mean, there is kind of like the reputation that I'm a super harsh, super tough critic and I hate everything and I'm always super negative and, I dislike everyone's favorite everything. But you're saying like the vast majority of the reviews are actually positive. Like I have positive
Yeah.
things to say most of the time about stuff that, I'm reviewing.
And maybe also one thing that I really want to do in the
Hmm.
future, I don't know if it's a good place to talk about this, but actually transcribe all of your reviews and do some analysis over that.
We have been doing some review transcriptions for the site and everything, and maybe there
Oh
are some
yeah,
trends to
right.
be
Yeah.
seen there. Like the point in time where I was saying rattling hi hats a lot until everybody started like bullying me into stopping saying it. But I mean, not to sort of say like I'm somebody who likes everything, but I think that there is going to be like a bit of a bias there toward the positive overall, because I mean, I am just like one person. I do review a lot of projects a year, it is true, but like many of those are being done merely out of like me kind of voluntarily choosing to, because I passionately
Right.
am interested in reviewing that thing. And, while yes, every week or so, I am typically reviewing some projects that I don't quite care for or I dislike. Most of the time when I have to talk about, no, well, most of the time when I am talking about something I'm choosing to talk about that I'm interested in talking about, I'm usually doing it from a place of, passion or preference, So like, maybe the scores would be kind of like maybe skewing a bit more negative in actuality if like I was in a place where maybe I was being forced to review more things that I
Right.
didn't want
Yeah.
to, or if
Makes
I had to
sense.
sort of like do some kind of like truly even-handed distribution of different things to review outside of just things that I'm kind of curating and choosing wholly on my own. So the first slide that you've assembled here is this Fantano scores trend, and it goes from year to year to year, from 2012 to 2015. There's, some dips here, though it is within, at least from what I can see, a pretty narrow spectrum of
Yeah.
6.7 to 6.0 as
Exactly.
far as the
So
average.
I would say this is the least interesting one of the ones we'll be looking over today.
Mm,
But yeah, basically it allows to follow some of the trends. Like in 2014, you can see that the average score was dropping
mm.
like throughout the year, but it's still like zero point 0.5 points of a drop. So it looks much more dramatic than it actually is. But I don't know if you can like map it to something that was happening in your life or the way
Oh,
you were.
I find it kind of funny because like 2015 is maybe a year that a lot of people look back on very fondly, because like that's when To Pimp a Butterfly came out, you know. So and that was obviously an album that I scored a 10. 2024 in the larger scheme of things also looks like a pretty average year, but that's like obviously when Brat came out, which obviously I gave like a very, very positive review. Um, yeah, I mean, if anything, I think this just kind of shows that like maybe my most memorable or positive reviews don't necessarily correlate to like the most overall highest scoring year
Yeah, I
or
mean,
whatever,
this
maybe.
one good review will not skew the statistics much
Right.
because when in the year there are like 250 reviews, this 110 will not have much of an effect, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, again, just sort of like a perception that you might have upon a series of opinions or a point in time just based upon maybe a handful of projects that you really loved or looked back upon fondly, but it's not necessarily indicative of like an overall trend or anything like that.
Yeah.
But, still, it is funny that over this whole course of time without actually planning this out. It's not like I did this, thinking that this was going to be the case. I was like, yeah, man, I'm gonna be such a good reviewer. I'm gonna make sure that my reviews at the end of every year always average out between 6.0 and 6.5 about, and don't want to go too far in either direction. It's kind of funny that that's where it kind of like ended up without
Yeah.
again any like forethought going into this. Again, this is not something I hoped that would happen when I did it, and yet it's kind of here.
Yeah, so it's pretty uniform. So this graph is taking chunks of 150 reviews
Right.
at each point. And as you can see, with this big of a data set, it becomes pretty much flat, even though at this scale it does seem a bit jagged. But
Right. Okay, so let's move on to the next chart that you've put together here. So
yeah,
you have essentially assembled here, according to average scores, what my most favorite genres are, what the genres are that tend to score the
exactly.
most positively. So what genres here are we seeing rock in the top spots?
Yeah, so this is actually just the ones that have more than 15 reviews because there are some genres that are more narrow, let's say, and you have like a
I
couple of reviews.
actually I really appreciate you doing that because it's like there could be a genre I only reviewed 3 times
Yeah,
and
like French house would
right
score
and
an
they're all
average
super
of 9.
positive or all super
Yeah.
negative, and it doesn't really amount to much. And while 15 isn't like the biggest sample size, it's definitely more than like 3.
I like the diversity here. So it's both jazz fusion, hip hop, folk, art punk, noise rock. So
Mm,
already like I was glad to see that. So it's not like there is something like I was expecting conscious hip hop to be there.
mm,
But it actually wasn't. It's closer to the average. I guess there's just something that has both, like on both sides of the spectrum, this genre. But yeah, definitely jazz fusion is the best here. And I also provided some of the examples from uh, each of these genres.
no, I appreciate that
Are
too. We got
you are you like
Godflesh in there.
surprised to see some of these in the top?
Personally, no, not particularly. Jazz fusion. I do love some jazz fusion. Industrial hip hop, not surprised at all, considering how many releases I've reviewed in that lane. And, people in my audience tend to really kind of favor that style of music too. Chamber folk, maybe I'm surprised to see uh so high up here, but it is, it does have a lot of lovely beautiful albums in that genre. I don't disagree. Art punk, not surprised. Noise rock, I do love a lot of noise rock. Contemporary folk, avant-garde metal, yes, most definitely, especially with like the recent Imperial Triumphant record. Jazz rap, sludge metal, glitch hop, I'm not really surprised with these at all. Although UK bass, okay, that's kind of interesting to be rocking so
It
high,
is.
but progressive soul, grindcore. No, I mean, I do mess with these genres. These are genres I do mess with. I will admit that. I fully own messing with these genres and some of the biggest artists in these genres. This is all me. This is all my taste mapped out.
Nice. All right. So yeah, I guess we can go to the next one.
Yeah, to the least favorite genres. So
Right.
these are the genres that had some of the lowest average scores. Still like within a 4 to a 7 range, but like, there's definitely a spectrum here, a wider spectrum than, the average review scores per year. So yeah, as far as least favorites, damn, slacker rock,
Yeah, but
ambient.
you can see the red line, which is the global average. So
Mm.
for the ones on top, like Slack Rock, ambient pop, not too far from the average. It's like more
So, so,
interesting what's at the bottom there.
so wait a second. When you say global average, what do you mean? Like according to what other
It's
people
like
are?
average across all of your scores, like all 300,
Okay.
3,300. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Well, I mean, still, it's like, I will say when it comes to a lot of like recent slacker rock releases. I do have, a lot of criticisms for some of the bands in, that style and that lane who are kind of reviving that sound, but in my opinion, not doing it particularly well. I'm kind of actually shocked, although I think it might have a lot to do with the fact that I do cover quite a bit of it. The post-punk revival not sort of like being in a top spot, but maybe more of a middling spot, because I do, sort of like have a lot of interest in that style. Some of my biggest haters probably won't be surprised to see a shoegaze in here around the middle. I do get a lot of criticisms for my shoegaze criticisms. That is true. But yes, as you said, some of the more interesting genres do pop up toward here at the bottom, don't they?
Yeah, but I was actually surprised to see alternative R&B
Oh,
there.
okay.
It's like 125 reviews. So
Mm,
with this big of a sample, I would expect
mm,
it to be very close to the global average.
mm.
But now it's actually seems like alternative R&B is least favored by you, less favored by you than like average record.
It's a genre that I feel like I either have strong feelings for the project because I feel like it's done incredibly well. I feel like it's a genre I don't have a lot of tolerance for when it's not being done well. Like when it's something like SZA's SOS or an FKA Twigs record, or even to a degree like the Nourished by Time album, which has some alternative R&B notes to it for sure. I'm just absolutely in love with it, head over heels for it. It's like really doing something for me. But when the vocals aren't good and the production is like really suffering and there's like something just so severely subpar about it, it's something that like I really just cannot absolutely stand. So that might
Right.
have a lot to do with kind of like the sort of slant there. Um,
But
but oh, go on. What were you going to say?
but actually, like alternative rock and alternative metal are also close by.
Yeah. Alternative rock and alternative metal are close by. That is true. Also pop rock, um, cloud rap, pop in general. I mean, pop as well. I feel like I have, again, low tolerance for when I don't feel like it's being done well. And I do feel like, with these being such general and massive genres inhabited by artists who are chart topping, platinum selling, so on and so forth, I feel like a lot of these records do tend to be kind of like influenced by tacky music trends
Mm,
or, just like a very bad album cycle, kind of like cliches and so on and so forth. But yeah, toward the bottom, I'm not really surprised to see emo rap. I can. There's not too many emo rap records. I feel like I've had a lot of positive things to say about that I've covered. I mean, certainly some artists that I think are more respectable than others, and definitely some standouts in the genre that I've had some positive things to say about, and some artists who borrow from that style and incorporate it into other things. But like, as far as like some of the biggest and most popular pure emo rap releases that I can think of, yeah, I've probably disliked a vast majority of them. So
right.
the 4.3 average does not really shock me, honestly. Kind of go into this next one because this is interesting. You assembled a chart according to most favorite themes.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess I need to explain what this means. So if
Mm,
you've seen Rate Your Music album views, they have these
mm,
descriptors with
right.
different adjectives and not only adjectives, nouns as well, describe in some way.
My favorite theme is my top five themes. And some of these are according to records that, were not even maybe the most positively reviewed, like James Ferraro's Skid Row, but still. We have, based off of 18 reviews, poverty. We have childhood, socialism, self love, and marital. What,
Or
like,
Marshall,
martial, which means what?
I don't know. I guess something with war. I don't know with
Yeah, maybe. And then afterlife, dying, all that history, feminism, a big fan of feminism over here, obviously. So,
And the example
uh,
here is Nirvana, Nevermind.
yes, and the example is Nirvana, Nevermind. Also, stream of consciousness, car seat headrests, twin fantasy, and also music about music. Which I feel like is always a good direction to go in. If you can make some good music about music, that's not a bad direction to move. Yeah, I mean, I guess I can't really deny that I feel like these are themes I feel like either speak to me personally or I find compelling because they at least reflect the world that we're living in, like a broader sense, or they, again, speak to something like very, very kind of like personal or universal, like either childhood or, mortality and so on and so forth. I mean, these can be pretty impactful themes when done correctly,
Right.
when approached passionately. So it's very interesting to sort of see things broken down in this way. All right, let's look at least favorite themes because you did least favorite themes as well. I'm
Yeah.
very interested to hear like topically what the hell I don't want to listen to. Okay, we have at the top of least favorite themes, we have romantic, we have
But that's
space.
very, very close to average. So I would
Yeah.
say
It's very close to
negligible
average.
difference.
Yeah. Also space. I'm just sick of hearing about space, or I'm just got when I hear about space, I'm like, yeah, it's all right. It's space. Space. When I think about space as a concept, space is actually pretty exciting.
That's
So I
true.
don't know. It's I'm kind of curious about the space thing. Also, male vocalist, love, romantic, kind of mixing together there. But like toward the bottom, we have fashion, hedonistic, apathetic, lethargic drugs. Out of all of these things, there are some of them where I really feel like it kind of depends on who's talking about it and how they're talking about it.
Yeah.
Like, the Clips album, for example, like has tons of cocaine references, which like obviously didn't stop me from loving it and enjoying it. But, I mean, if a record has lethargy as a theme or I don't know embodies it in some way, I think I can generally agree. I don't really like and I don't sort of like believe something like ambient music to necessarily be a reflection of this, but like I generally don't care for music that I find to kind of embody being lethargic or apathetic or maybe kind of like disengaged or whatever, because I feel like personally when I listen to music, I listen to it to engage,
Right.
in something, and not just with music, but just like, if I sense that a piece of art in general is kind of like just existing merely to not really communicate much or relay much to, whoever's consuming it, it just kind of, encourages me to sort of be less interested in it, generally speaking. So, okay. And also fashion, ouch. Again, I feel like it's something that it sort of depends on who's talking about it and what they're saying about it. I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
the Clips album as well is an example of a record that has fashion references all over it, So I mean, I guess it really kind of depends about how it's being approached, but
Right. And each of
yeah.
these albums actually has like up to, I would say, 30 different descriptors or
Mm.
themes. So it's not like it's
The
the
one single
primary one.
thing.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Okay, so what's this next chart that you have assembled
Yeah.
here?
So what I really was wondering is how your scores compare to Rate Your Music scores.
Mm.
And so what I needed first is to collect all the data. So I did that, and then I charted like the accumulated scores. I don't know if this charts make sense, but they basically start from the lowest uh, scores and then go
Mm.
up. And basically, this is the ascending scores
Mm.
histogram. And with the on the left, you can see your scores. The line is jagged because you only give scores like 0, 1, 2, so whole
Right.
numbers.
Yeah.
And on Rate Your Music, it's like with 2 decimal numbers, so it's more
Hmm.
smooth.
Mm.
And but what you can see, it's actually very convenient that your lowest score is 0. It has Tones and I, Welcome to the Madhouse, and the lowest scored album out of the albums that you reviewed on Rate Your Music is also Tones and I. Welcome to the
Are
Madhouse.
are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So this is 0.81. So this is pretty much the same as zero in your
Right, right, right.
system.
Yeah, both
And
of our are extremes.
yeah, and same for the 10. Kendrick Lamar to be a butterfly, the highest score on Rate Your Music. So we would say that 4.38 is the same as 10. So
I
this is
mean,
basically to compare apples to apples. So that we use when comparing your scores with Rate Your Music, so, we compare the same numbers.
I think we're just this is just proof that they're copying me. That's really all it
Yeah.
is. They're copying me because I mean, To Pimp a Butterfly didn't always have that score.
Right,
Like
right.
and it wasn't always like the number one album on the site.
True. Yeah.
Like it took a while to kind of get to that point for people to like gradually and progressively adopt it.
But do you think that there is your role as well in it?
No, I mean, I think I'm sort of like being facetious to a degree there. Like, like undoubtedly with millions of
No,
people
I
watching me.
understand that you're joking around, but I'm serious, like because I think that you indeed influence a lot of people's opinions. So there might be some of your
No, I
part in
don't
that.
disagree, but I would also say like, to a degree for sure, it's like it's symbiotic as well because I do sort of do what I can to follow generally what different music communities, be it like on the Fantano Forever subreddit or Rate Your Music or certain reviewers that I'm a fan of, if they're really like championing something and excited about something, not just based merely on the score, but like if something's kind of like rising to the top in a cream sort of way, as it were, getting a lot of buzz, getting a lot of attention. But, obviously there's a lot of stuff that trends in the underground that I don't like at all, and that I don't care for and that I don't review positively or just don't really talk about in general. But there are a lot of like, records that tend to do well on Rate Your Music that like, I end up checking out because people are like saying, hey, did you hear about this? It's like, really
Right.
popular right now. A lot of people are excited about it. I check it out. I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually like really good. I don't disagree. There is like, an influence there, even if it is kind of like happening as a result of like an echo of an echo of an echo of an echo. It's like, it's a down the road thing. It's a snowballing kind of, effect, I guess you could say. And it's not just going in one direction, and it's not just sort of like, an A to B kind of cause and effect
Yeah,
direct
of
connection. It's
course.
it's
Yeah.
it's it's
Very
nuanced.
complicated network.
Let's move to maybe some of the separations that you've been able to gather from
Yeah,
me to
right.
Rate Your Music. You've done a series of reviews here of things that I love, but Rate Your Music doesn't. I've actually done a few videos kind of like exploring this exact thing.
Yeah.
Like if
But
you
now
shoo
it's
shoo.
numerical.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, now it's numerical. I'll say just for like reference, anybody who hasn't seen those videos, like, I've done ones, for example, where I'm talking about there are certain shoo shoo albums, in my opinion, that I feel like haven't gotten quite the fair shake on the platform that they should in comparison with some other releases. And, you've really dug into the back catalog here to find I really enjoyed, yes, that Sea Power, that British Sea Power album, Theophilus London, Lover's Holiday, Dope Body, Giggins, who recently did a review for that new Sparks album. I was very favorable toward that Oliver Tree debut. I do think there were a lot of fun tracks on that. And I did enjoy that Legends Never Die Juice World record too, even though I know that Rate Your Music wasn't quite as hot on it, honestly. Yeah, they did not like that Tizo Touchdown album at all, which I found was kind of sad because there were so many fun songs on that album. Didn't really dig the Wolves in the Throne Room ambient record, which I thought was very fun. Marshall Mathers LP2, I think is like one of Eminem's best projects in years. But c'est la vie, I guess. I really feel like they needed to give that HMLTD project more of a shot there. Yachty, Sexy Red, and Hobo Johnson. I'm actually not surprised about the Hobo Johnson at all. All right, there you have it. There was our conversation. Again, melody.com linked in the D box down below. Again, appreciate you guys watching. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano scores data forever.